Leicester Till I Die podcasts on the Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Anchor, and all podcast platforms.
You are watching Leicester Till I Die TV with Chris and Chumps. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. All you need for everything Leicester City FC. It's Leicester Till I Die TV.
Strap yourself in, because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on you foxes!
Hello fellow Fox fans, how the devil are you? Yes, like I said, it's me. I'm here every night this week apart from Sunday. I've got Sunday off so I can go off and watch Antiques Roadshow. Yes, having said that, Antiques Roadshow's got to be a lot more exciting than last night. And I said this last night in the post-match show, if ever there was a game where you say the result makes you forget the 90 minutes, that was it last night. I tell you, I say, Antiques Roadshow has a lot more excitement than that does. We might have a bit more of an exciting game this weekend. It's a small... It is third versus fourth, and we're in third, they're in fourth. And this is Leicester Till I Die, and you can watch us live here on YouTube, Leicester Till I Die TV, Facebook, the group Leicester Till I Die, Twitter and Periscope at Leicester TID. Let us know your thoughts. Quick mention on last night if you want to. What do you think about the game coming up? Is it a good time to be playing Liverpool? Is it is there ever a good time to play a team? We'll be asking our special guest that in a second. Or is it just a case of it's another game, you treat every game the same? If we win, we're 6 points clear. It's got to be worth going for, hasn't it? I think we might see a few changes back in. We've got Craig, who is our normal guest, and we're going to bring Craig in and say good evening to Craig. How the devil are you, sir?
I'm good, Chris. Cheers to everybody there on a little lubrication. It's not anything alcoholic. I'll leave that to Chris. We've gone for a bit of lemon tea. We've gone for lemon tea. It was something a little zesty. I was in the mood for.
Yeah.
So
I'll just say, LCFC boy, I'll put that message up. I won't put your first one up. When you want to stop swearing, then I can put all your messages up. JJ worries him massively. Rob, evening. You sound like you're on a different planet, Rob. Who's that, me or Craig? Do I sound all right, Craig?
You sound a little muffled. We can hear you. You just sound like you're a little muffled.
Right,
but it's fine.
And I'll see if that sounds any better at all. We will see how we get on anyway.
That sounds better. Although there's probably some people who think it sounds worse.
Better. Cheers, bud. LCFC boy says good evening to you, Craig. Probably
good
not
evening.
me because I wouldn't. is Swain. We do have a special guest with us this evening. We shouldn't keep him waiting any longer. The flying winger, Steve Lynex. Good evening, Steve.
Good evening.
Welcome along. Thanks for joining us again.
I'm getting to enjoy it now.
Good. Keep predicting that we're not going to win because
I shall keep doing that. I was close again last night.
You were very close. You
were towards penalties.
Oh, I tell you what, I don't think that they got the ball off the spot last night. I mean, what was going on? I mean, there was hardly any shots on target. I think in the first half we only had 4 touches in their box, but we got the win, didn't we?
That's how you have to win the games, I think. It's no use playing great for 89 minutes, absolutely hammering them, and then losing the game. So it's nice to get the result when the games are like that.
Craig, I mean, I was on here, but I had it on another computer at the side of me watching it on BT, and I've got to be totally honest, I was that bored. I was ordering birthday cards and moving in cards on funkypigeon.com. There's a shout out for them. Other card sites are available, I should point out. But it was that dull, I'm afraid. I've got to be honest.
Oh. It was terrible. I mean, it was only the last kick of the game was the only thing that actually made me put down my knitting. It was that bad, to be honest. It was the thing that worries me is that we can come out and put in a performance like that, and then we're expected to be able to pick up the pace and play at a different pace. I mean, Brendan's constantly going on about if you play for me, you've got to be a runner, you've got to put all the work rate in. I didn't see much of that at all, and it does worry me that we can sort of drop off the intensity. Usually you're a team who plays with intensity or you're not. I'm not sure which team we are, and we're over halfway through the season.
I tell you what, Steve, I watched the highlights on YouTube, and I think they were about 30 seconds.
I think, like when we spoke in a preview about the game and the changes and that, I think when you start weakening your team and trying to change your positions and trying to change tactics, that's when it all starts to become confusing. And I think it's more confusing for the people watching it, like ourselves, than it is for the manager, because we've all got a feeling how the game should be played, and I think everybody's right in saying play your strongest team and go for it. And I think it's proved again on that game that if you want to be successful and you want it, then you should play your best team and play the way you usually play.
Yeah. Andy, good evening, Andy. How the devil are you, sir? How was Bake Off? Was it more exciting than the game? Probably. Rob says I'll just put this up again just to wind Craig up. Evening, Steve from Rob McFarlane. You were nearer than Craig with your selections. Don't tell Craig.
Only this week.
It's therapy for Craig. This is. I'll tell you.
It is. I tell you what. The most disappointing thing for me in terms of the team selection was the fact that it actually changed the shape. I think you can make an argument for playing, moving players in and out, but to change the shape, and particularly against Brighton, I really didn't understand that at all. And for the first 20, 25 minutes, it seemed like nobody knew where they were supposed to be playing.
This is the trouble. 7 changes and a formation change is probably too much. And I think the fact that we scored from a corner, we were very quick, we caught them off guard. I don't think they were expecting us to take it that quick. And I think I had a look, Steve, and they had like 5 or 6 defenders in the box. All we had was Kelechi, and I've been quick to criticise him, so fair play to him. He had a great game yesterday. He went for it, and another great header off him.
Yeah, like you say, he's got to get some time on the pitch. You've got to get used to how he plays. He's got to get used to how the team plays. And that's going to be, going down the road, the struggling part if they keep changing systems and keep changing the players. We're always told through our careers, through our things, you play to your strengths. And if you are good at the strength, why change it? I can't go down any other route, to be honest. And I'll probably be arguing that all the time with people.
Yes, don't change it if it's not broken, as they always say. Mountain Bliss, good evening. I'm taking it that's a Liverpool fan there. You never walk alone. Respect to Leicester, but we need the win this weekend. You certainly do. But if we can beat you, like I say, 6 points clear. And that's no disrespect to other teams that are just outside the top four, but we would like that. Let's get on to the game this weekend then. It is a big one coming up, guys. We are playing on Saturday, not as I said last night, on Sunday. I had to get that used to us playing on Sunday. I had a Craig moment and got it wrong, a senior moment. But this Saturday, King Power, you're welcome, mate, 12:30. It's on BT Sport. If you've got that platform, Talk Sport Radio, BBC Radio Leicester and lcfc.com. Steve, it'd be great to get a win there and put 6 points between us and Liverpool, wouldn't it?
Oh, it'd be great. The only thing you got to watch out for is that every bad run comes to an end, and we hope it's not against Leicester on Saturday. So it can go either way. We can start off strong, attack them, don't let them settle, and as the game goes on, they'll panic more, and then you're more likely to get the win. Or we can go again and try and defend and things like that, and and then you put the pressure on yourselves.
Craig, I almost wish this was at Anfield, because we are obviously playing a hell of a lot better away than we are at home.
That's true. Their home record was sort of like a fortress, and now all of a sudden there's 3 on the spin. I'm not sure if that YNWA now stands for "You'll Never Win Again," but hopefully we can continue that. We can continue that run.
That deserves a round of applause. That does, Craig. Nice one, mate.
But I mean, if you look at Liverpool on the road, their record has been pretty decent. There's a couple of dodgy results. I think with their last 5, they've won away at West Ham, they've won away at Spurs, and obviously they had the big 7-0 away at Palace. So I think for them, they'll think that we have the sort of we have to come out. We're at home. I know it's different now. There's no fans, but you would think the emphasis is on us to actually come out at them. It might be a little bit cagey, and touching on what Facebook user Rob was saying there. My worry from looking at that Brighton game was that he was going back to a 5. That he might do it again against Liverpool, and I really, really hope he doesn't. That was my worry when I saw the 5, because I think, as Rob says, we still seem to have this inferiority complex when we come up against the so-called big teams, and Brendan does it a little bit too much for my liking. And as Steve says, you play to your own strength. You don't worry about the opposition, particularly when they're in a bad run of form. So I think you lose something of your own strengths if you start taking account of the opposition's.
Steve, I want to ask you this as a player, and then we're going to come on to a comment that somebody's made about injuries. I mean, that's the current form there, and it looks bad for Liverpool. I mean, it's the teams that they've lost to Burnley and Brighton, teams that Liverpool, and I know it's a funny season, anybody can beat anybody, but, it isn't a good run of form. It is the old saying, it's a good time to play them, maybe. Does that ever exist in a player's mind that this is our time? I mean, we've not beaten Liverpool for I don't know how long, or is it just a fallacy that every game is just the same?
I don't think it's a fallacy, but I think it all depends on how you're doing yourselves. Now, if you're on a good run and you're there and you're thinking positive, you have to carry on doing that. And I think at the moment now, like you say with Brendan, he'll be thinking about the way Liverpool play, and he'll be trying to think of how to stop them before thinking about how to beat them. And I think that's where the line gets stretched, because you're going to be thinking more about them scoring goals than you would be Leicester scoring goals. And I think now, it is the best time to play them, because they haven't got the back four they want, but they still bomb the full-backs forward, so the space provided and that behind. So if you can keep pressure, keep them in their own half and get behind them, I think you could look at a good 3 or 4 goals.
Yeah, well, that would be extremely nice. Craig, Andy said here earlier, why do we seem to pick up so many injuries? And we have had a bad year for injuries, but in fairness, I don't think it's just Leicester. Liverpool have as well. In fact, most teams have. And they made a comment on BT last night that the commentator said he'd never known a season for it where so many teams have got so many injuries. Is this because we didn't have a very long break between seasons because of COVID? We're having to play 2 games a week. Players aren't getting that rest.
For me, I think it's more about the lack of recovery time. I mean, Steve would know much more than me about what players do in between games. I think now we're playing twice a week, and we know that professional athletes should be able to play twice a week. It's just that if you get a little bit of a niggle and a knock, you don't have that long to run it off, and those things can sort of start getting a little bit worse as they go along if they're not rested. But I don't know. I mean, it seems weird that there's that many injuries these days when it's such a less physical game, as we touched on last week. Most of the injuries that people are being picked up seem to be from the pitch.
Steve, in your time, what did you do before games? I'm tempted to say drink and have fags, but that would be very,
I'll tell you what,
unfair.
You're not far off there, to be honest. But I'm an old-fashioned kind of player. I think I'll be that way till I die. But I watch the games nowadays, and people saying they play too many games and that. But when I'm watching, you sit there and analyse the game, they're not running for the constant 90 minutes. Most of the time, they're walking into positions, or they're playing a little 5-yard ball. They're doing a 10-yard run. They don't run 100 yards every 2 seconds. So to me, you've got the best medical teams you've ever had. You've got all the new technology. And I can't understand how they're getting all the injuries. Like you said, there's no physical contact.
No.
So it's frustrating for me to see that.
In the championship winning year, we had, was it the Cairo tunnel, whatever they say, where people freeze each other. But I mean, you look at Jamie Vardy, Craig, and he had a hip hop. I prefer garage and grunge personally, but obviously he's into hip hop. Bum bum. If that was you and me, I'd be off work for 6 weeks. He's back playing football in a couple. Our players being rushed back too soon, like you say.
I don't think they're necessarily being rushed back too soon. I mean, these days, a lot of operations, things like that, are all keyhole surgery. It's not like they're being laid up and cut open. I don't think that. They are professional athletes at the end of it, and I don't think they would rush them back. Brendan has shown that he's not one for rushing people back. And I think at the end of it, they are professional athletes who also want to play. I mean, I think it's only the likes of Gareth Bale who will sort of find a reason not to play. I heard this morning that he'd said he'd picked up some kind of muscular injury that the physios couldn't even find. But most people and most footballers, I'm sure Steve will say the same, you'd much rather play than train. So if people want to be back out on the pitch and playing.
That true, Steve?
That's right, yeah. You live to play. I think you just, when you're training in the week, when the season starts, it's all the physical stuff. But when the season goes on, your first 2 or 3 days after a game is recovery, and then the next 2 or 3 games is tactics and the styles you want to play. Yeah. But you're going back to professional players, and it's they do want to play. That's why a lot of big squads now, you've got that many players want to leave the club. It's not because they don't like the club or the manager. It's just that they want to play games.
Yes. Unlike Gareth Bale, who wants to just play golf, of course, But that's
probably what wallet in his pocket, so.
Yeah, it must have been in his shoulder when he was trying to swing the ball. That's what it was. I mean, this is our position at the moment, injury-wise. We've got Justin. Now, I put being assessed there. I think Craig may have some more updated information, but Looking on the site, it looked like he was being assessed. Pratt, Fofana's a big loss. Castagna, Morgan. Again, a lot of our defence there. Worries about that, Craig, with the back four again?
Not really. I think, you say that they're all big losses, but none of them would have been in the starting lineup, to be honest, if everybody was fit. So I don't think at the start of the season, though, I don't think Fofana would have been in at the start of the season. I don't think any of those would have been, nailed on starters. Maybe JJ, I don't know, but no. So I don't think, there's good times and bad times to lose players. We're in a position where we've got our squad in a right place, that we've not got multiple injuries in the same position, so we're better off than a lot. You just see the way that Liverpool's centre halves all collapsed at the same time. So it could be worse, is my point, really. I think there's no excuses for us based on injuries.
Steve, this is Liverpool's injuries, and they've got some big names out there. Jota, Matip, Keita, Gomez and Van Dijk and Jota, three obviously, but they're all big names for Liverpool. Again, we've got to. Does a player, as an player, do you look at the team and think, "Oh God, he's not playing. I've got my chance."
I think individually they might do, player against player. I think looking at that list you've just shown there, the only one I feel that they've missed is Jota, because Jota was on a fantastic run at the time. He was getting loads of goals for him. He was making things happen. So out the rest of them, they're just like steady players, if you know what I mean. But I'm a big believer that the players that are in form should be playing.
Yeah.
And, I think Jota's a big loss for Liverpool.
Yeah. And Van Dijk, Craig?
Well, I think Van Dijk's a massive loss. He'd be a massive loss to any team, but, he's been lost for most of the season now. I think it's a good point that Steve makes about Jota. And I think the other thing about Jota is he was making the other players step up as well, because Mane, Salah, Firmino hadn't got any competition until Jota turned up. All of a sudden, Jota's in the team, he's scoring goals. It causes them to step up their game as well if they want to be playing. And now that's gone again. They virtually pick themselves. So I don't think Origi puts any pressure on anybody. So it's almost like the forward players have dropped back into that little comfort zone.
Liverpool seem to be doing a bit, Craig, what we did last year, and they are having a bit of a sticky patch, but we do seem to struggle against them. I mean, November, we went up to Anfield, 3-0, and the guy that does the opposition view on lcfc.com, which is the questions, he actually said he couldn't believe how we capitulated is probably a strong word, but he thought we would put more of a fight than we did there. We do seem to struggle against Liverpool, don't we, of recent years?
I think the biggest issue from that is that, if that's almost coming from the manager, that seeps into the players, this inferiority complex. If you spend so much time talking about how an opposition can hurt you, that goes in mentally, and you're more worried about that than playing your own game. And I think we have this issue against it. Liverpool particularly. It took us a long time to get over that with the likes of Arsenal. Man City, we've had a couple of good performances, but for Liverpool, for some reason, whether it's because Brendan was there and he knows what a great club it is, I don't know. But I don't think since Brendan's been here, we've even put up a fight against Liverpool for whatever reason.
I mean, Steve, Jock would never have allowed you to get away with that, would he? He would never let you think you got an inferiority complex. Oh,
no way at all. And I think that's where Brendan falls into the trap. Liverpool are going to be watching Leicester. They're going to know how Leicester play. So that's why you need now Leicester to do something different and be in the faces, and then they won't know what to do when they're on the pitch until it's too late. But if Leicester go into the game how Liverpool expect them to play, that's half the game won for Liverpool.
Yes.
And vice versa with, with Liverpool as well. If Brendan goes into the game knowing how Liverpool play and try and nullify how they play, he's going to be hitting a brick wall.
A message for you here, Steve. Unfortunately, the gentleman or lady, I shouldn't presume a gentleman or lady, has not put the name. Hi, Steve. Met you at the training camp you ran back in 1984, and you gave me your City training jersey. All the best. Like I say, message us again and say who you are. It just comes up as Facebook user, but you see, you well remembered, Steve.
Oh, that's nice to know. Thank you.
For what reasons we don't know. We won't go into that. But point here, Craig. Excuse me, Rob again. Robertson always gets too much time and space to create brilliant crosses. We must stop that situation. I
think it's the same on both sides. If Trent's on his game as well, they can both capable of putting in great crosses. From Robertson's point, I mean, I really like Robertson, and what I like about Robertson is his intensity. Now, I'm sure in your time, Steve, we had a few Scottish players, and those that come down and are successful always seem to have that level of intensity that, they're not going to let anybody in front of them get the better of them. And Robertson plays with this fantastic intensity and almost, smashes the opposition into submission with these constant runs. So it does need to be looked at. I think in the team that I would put out, I think you'd take that into account. But on both sides, they've got capable fullbacks. It's just about us imposing ourselves. And I always think, when you play against the likes of Man City, I always wondered what would happen if somebody actually left 3 up. Make the fullbacks wonder about what's happening behind them when they go bombing forward on the runs. They get caught out 2 or 3 times, by quick early balls in behind them once they've gone. They'll be thinking twice. And I think that's important that you make players think. You touched on it, Steve, about doing something different. If they can do what they want on the pitch, that's great. As soon as you do a couple of little things that they're not expecting, it puts them off the game as well. And I think that's important that we do that.
Would you agree, Steve? Because Liverpool set up, they'll set up how they want to play for the 90 minutes. And how they set up and how they start off the game dictates how they play the game all the way through. Now, if you give them the time that they want to start off the game, then they will get stronger and stronger. But if you start off the game opposite and you're the strongest, it'll take them 3/4 of the game to get back into their rhythm, because they're not expecting it. Now with the Robinson, if you can keep putting the ball in his corner behind him, he's going to spend more time by his 18-yard box than he will by yours. So you've got to be very careful, and I think Brendan has, is that you watch teams play against Liverpool, Man City. They drop into a bank of 4, a bank of 5. They drop into holes and don't pick people up, and you're not stopping it. You're not stopping how Liverpool play, because you're stuck for 90 minutes in the last third of your pitch.
Craig, agree again?
Yeah, definitely, and I think it's really. I think Vardy's got a massive part to play in this game. That for me, he's got to be the one exploiting that space. So as soon as they go forward and it looks like the ball's turning over, he's got to be drifting out either right or left behind whichever fullback has gone forward. For me, sometimes he stays a little bit too central, a little bit too static. Doesn't make all the runs that he used to make. We know that because he's getting a little bit older. But for me, he's got to be exploiting space and getting in behind those fullbacks. So if that out ball isn't there, he doesn't look like he's making a run, then we can actually get caught in our own half a bit too much. So I think he's got a vital role to play.
I think, going back to that, sorry to interrupt, I think the midfielders will dictate how Vardy plays. You go back to when they won the title and when they had the good team. As soon as Drinkwater got the ball, the first thing you do is look up and put it into a position where Vardy could run onto. Now, he was making Vardy make those runs. And at the moment with Leicester, they're not doing that quick enough. They're looking too square too early. So Vardy can't make his move. So you have to do it instinctively, as soon as they get the ball, they should be looking straight away and place the ball into the area. Let Vardy run onto it, not for Vardy to make the run first, because, you know, they'll track him if he does that. But if you keep getting the ball, look up, and the first thing you're going to do is like bang into that hole there, Vardy will know, and he's on his way, and he should be 2 or 3 yards in front.
I mean, Craig, it's a good point, that, and thank you, Steve. And remember when we won it, and you know, we had that amazing season, we were that counter-attacking, fast-breaking team, like Steve says, put the balls through and make, you know, Vardy run after them. We seem to start like that with Brendan Rodgers, but he is slowly changing us more into almost like a Liverpool of the 70s, where, you know, you take your time, you pass it around. I mean, when we scored that goal the other week, I think it was 28 passes we made. We've got a goal at the end of it, but we are slowly being changed as a team under Brendan. I'm saying that's a bad thing, but you can see that, can't you?
I think you've got to be adaptable. I mean, to say that you can play that way every game, you know, we've seen it, and we saw it. You know, it happens to the best of teams. Pep's been doing it for years, and he did it at Barcelona, and eventually everybody got wise to it at Barcelona, and it became boring. He's gone through a phase here at Man City where people start working it out. I think the best teams are the ones who can adapt and play. You know, either if you're slow, you then speed it up quickly. You know, when you get on the ball, and I think as we did when, as you said there, Steve, when we won the league, it was almost telepathic that Drinkwater, you know, he's not the greatest player in the world, but he knew what to do when the ball came to him. He was already thinking, right, I know where I'm going to put this one, and we've got to be like that. You know, we can pass. It's fine doing it against Fulham. Liverpool are not going to let you knock 27 passes around. So you've got to be adaptable and play quicker. I think we play best when we play fast. And for me, too often this season, we play too slow.
Well, let's see, Craig, if the team that you think Brendan will put out this weekend is going to be a team that can play fast. And there's no pressure on you now that you've got an ex-footballer watching you and picking your team apart here. But quick message, a quick hello to Warren Knight. Hiya, Warren. Thanks for joining us again from Adelaide down there in Australia. Hope you've got nice warmer weather than we've got here, mate. It's 6 a.m. in the morning. Thanks for getting up early to tune in. Breakfast, don't fancy breakfast this morning, do you not? Cornflakes or listen to Leicester Till I Die. What a choice. We knew there was always going to come late, but didn't think it would be that late. Thank God it didn't go to extra time. Like Kelechi said, they didn't want extra time. It was too cold. They were just toying with us, weren't they, really? But we're going to have a look at Craig's team, and we're going to see what Steve thinks of Craig's team. And we'll be right back after this extremely quick break. Back after this.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Please subscribe now on YouTube.
Right, so Craig, let us have a look at your team. You were a bit off the mark, obviously. Now, it's understandable in the last choice against Brighton because just Brendan didn't obviously watch that show.
No, I don't think I was that far off-ish. I think. You know, I think we're at that stage of the season where this team should be basically picking itself. So I don't think you're going to get many surprises from me, although I'm not sure Steve might tweak it. So Schmeichel in goal for me, Ricardo, Evans, and Soyuncu. Now, from what I've read from the statements from Brendan, it seems like Justin should be okay. He said when he went off that he felt he could have walked off. I think they were being precautionary, and after 5 minutes in the changing room, he felt fine. I think it was just a little bit of a twinge when he landed, and they took a precaution really because they didn't want to risk it. So, but he said after 5-10 minutes he felt fine on it. So, I think if that is the case, I think they'll play him because I think you definitely weaken your side if you end up putting Luke Thomas, who is a great prospect, but Luke Thomas against Salah or Christian Fuchs against Salah. There's only one winner for me, I think. So I think if JJ's fit, JJ will play.
Do you agree with that back four there, Steve?
I do, to be honest, yeah. Just looking at it there, though, you've got to. I think you've got to protect Johnny Evans a bit. I think because Johnny Evans, I've been watching him for the last couple of years. If he's got time on the ball, he'll struggle because he takes too much time on the ball, if that makes sense. And I think you'll lose the ball in positions where you shouldn't be. So I think the guys need to rush him a bit or get the ball off him quicker.
Yeah.
And then start to make the plays, because he does seem to hang on to it and looks, and he's looking where he's passing it. And I know that sounds silly, but if he's looking where he's passing it, then the opposition know where he's going to pass it. And I think he does that too much, I think. And they probably picked up on it, and they'll probably thinking the same thing.
You've said that before, Craig, about him standing on the ball too long, haven't you?
Yeah. He drives me up the wall often. As I say, I read somewhere that apparently he does that to try and draw the opposition out to create space in front of him. That sounds a great blag to me. For me, he can be dangerous. He can be the opposition's most dangerous player. So I think you're right. I think he needs protecting. But again, if we're on the front foot, then he shouldn't have the ball that much. But I think indeed, as you say, the next player, indeed he'll be back in and he'll be patrolling around in there. But I think it is important that Evans just gives the ball to someone who can do something better with it and does it quickly. As I say, we play better when we play quickly.
Justin, Steve, it is a gamble, like you say. It depends how ill he is. You can't afford to not play him because he's having such a fantastic season. He's probably he's up for displacing his predecessor in the England team, but you don't want to risk him if he's going to make it worse.
Well, I'd have been more worried for that young lad if it was his ankle, because I think your ankle takes more damage than your knee. It looked more of a jolt than a twist or a thing. So it might be though he's just got a bit of bruise in there, because I don't think he's twisted it when he's landed. When you watch it in slow motion, it was more of a jolt. So hopefully, if they can get in and get the bruising down and whatever, it shouldn't be as bad as it was, I don't think.
I think it looked worse than it was because he was carried off. He sort of went from being sat down, didn't look in sort of a lot of pain, and then next thing he's on the stretcher. You mentioned it already, Craig. Indeed, he's back in midfield. He's got to be, hasn't it? Really?
Yeah. I mean, he's one of the best, if not the best, for me in the Premier League in that position. So yeah, he's without doubt he's straight back in there.
Agree, Steve. You've got to bring him back, haven't you?
Oh, you've got to bring him back. Yeah, I think he's the muscle, and I think if he gets a bit more nastier, he'll be a better player as well. I think you need to let people know that you are there, then you are commanding it, and that's under the radar.
The old "hello, I'm
for
here"
me,
tackle.
Yeah, for me, he's got everything to be a sort of Patrick Vieira if he just gets that little bit of nastiness in him.
Yeah, I think that's what he needs. I think that's what he needs. You look at all the teams now, and they've got no nasty people in them. And I think if you have like 2 or 3 nasty people, not violently nasty, but aggressive verbally and in the way they move and the way they make the tackles, I think that's a lot of the game won that when you come across players like that.
So then moving up to the 4 across the midfield there. Again, like you say, almost picks itself, but you've brought one of the players back in there.
I brought Albrighton in. To be honest, I've not been overly impressed with Perez. I think he's looking a little bit lost. For me, he doesn't move the ball quickly enough.
Been, Craig? Who has been?
Well, yeah. But for me, I like him, and he picks up some nice pockets. I think he's an intelligent player. But for me, whether that's a lack of options when he's on the ball, but he just seems to get caught on the ball a little bit too much for me. And I think with Albrighton will offer a little bit more protection down that side with Robertson and Mane. I think that experience there will serve us better, to be honest. I think Albright can run all day. And as I said, I worry a little bit when Perez is out there that his natural instinct is to drift inside. And if their out ball is Robertson every time, then we're just asking for trouble. So I think Albrighton stays wider and can block that space a little bit better.
And no wonder, Steve. I don't think he didn't perform brilliantly. But then again, in fairness, nobody really did they? But would you agree with bringing Albrighton back in there?
Oh, I like him, Albrighton. And I think, as soon as he gets the ball, he's looking to put the ball in. I'm going back to when I played with Lineker and Smith. That was our strong point. As soon as I got the ball, they knew it was coming in. So then they could make their runs. And I think if you get Vardy knows when Albrighton's going to stick it in. But then I think you need Barnes and the other midfield player from the left coming in at the far post, knowing what he's going to do straight away. And I think that will keep Liverpool on the back foot. I don't think you can let people to get in positions where they're knocking long balls, hopefully. You need to get, a bit of rhythm that as soon as that ball goes there, the rest of the lads are on the front feet and they're running towards the box.
We missed Barnes, didn't we, Craig, I think?
I think so. And just touching on that point, I think it's one of the things that we lack, and we've lacked it for a couple of seasons for me, is a midfield player who wants to get beyond the striker, who wants to make those late runs. Maddison's doing it more now. I think he's playing in a more advanced position. But the last one I can remember that really wanted to do that was probably Muzzy, is it? That we had, that somebody that wanted to make a run out of the deep, out of midfield. And I think that's what we lack too often. You look up and we have Vardy in the box. Barnes hasn't got that natural feeling yet of actually getting in there and attacking space. And more often than not, it'll be James Justin who's coming around being the furthest forward. So I think that's something that we need to work on, getting more bodies in the box. And that comes from confidence, of not worrying about what happens if the ball breaks down. So, I think we need to be doing that, attacking the box a lot more in greater numbers.
I haven't got the graphic because according to the app that I'm using, I think they still think that this player is out injured because it wouldn't bring his picture up for me. So I couldn't actually bring the final player up here, striker. But Inacho's goal, does it keep him in the team or not, Craig?
No. Yeah, I mean, a fit Jamie Vardy is going to cause trouble for everyone else. And I say, even on Vardy's quiet days, he makes the opposition think. They can't push up as much as they want to and leave space in behind if Vardy's playing. So just Vardy being on the pitch dictates the way that an opposition will play. And I think, therefore, to bring the best out of the other players and create more space for them, you've got to have Vardy in there.
Agree, Steve. It's got to be Vardy back, hasn't it?
Oh, totally agree with it. Absolutely, totally agree with it. Because, like you say, if you don't play Vardy, everything's playing just in front of Liverpool where they're comfortable and what they like. And I think it's the best time to play them now because they haven't got two proper centre halves. So Vardy's got a yard on them straight away, and then they're not going to come up as fast as they usually do. So that's going to give more room in midfield, and hopefully them just keep them in there.
I'm just looking here, and Southampton beat Wolves 2-0 at the end of the day. I'm just looking. The kickoff for Barnsley-Chelsea is 8 o'clock, so the draw should be coming up any time now. So I'm just keeping sort of one eye on that. The teams that are through then are ourselves, Man City, Bournemouth, Man United, Sheffield United, Everton, Southampton. And no disrespect to Barnsley, but I think Chelsea are going to see Barnsley off. Steve, who would you fancy out of those?
I'd fancy anybody out of those because the way modern football is now, they're not going to play their strongest team. So you've got a chance straight away, and you'll find, and which you found over the other ones, is that they only play their strongest team if they get to the final. So I think you've got to hold your hands up and say, oh yeah, we'll have any one of those because they won't play the strongest team.
Craig, I mean, I've got a feeling in my water that it's probably going to be Man City or Chelsea because it always seems to be. Would it be wrong to, I mean, I suppose Sheffield United or AFC Bournemouth, but I can remember wishing for a Wickham home draw at... Oh, we haven't got Man City. Everton have got Man City, so we're safe from Man City. But, we've got to be careful what we wish for, haven't we?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm glad you said that because I was going to say I think we'll get Everton. So I think the only one that I would have liked to have avoided would be Man City. Because
guess who we've got, guys?
Man United.
We have Man United. We're at home and we're playing Man United. You've got to play them all at some point, haven't you?
Beat them now.
You haven't.
Exactly. I mean, the form is up and down, to be honest with you. Having watched them the other night against West Ham, I think I just think that is it was a prelude for our game, to be honest with you. It was almost as boring. And if the right Leicester turn up and that Man United turn up, Steve, we can have them, can't we?
Yeah, of course you can.
But that's it. It's what Leicester turns up and how Brendan sends them out. And that's the most frustrating thing because that on our day with the right attitude, playing quick, aggressive football, we're a match for any of those teams. If we come out and try and just knock the ball around, then it's just we're just asking for trouble. That game the other night against Brighton could have gone either way, and we couldn't have argued if they'd have gone and scored.
Bournemouth, Southampton, that's going to be a bit of a South Coast derby there, but it's the quarterfinals, isn't it? And at the end of the day, you're going to have to expect to play the big clubs. But, hang on, let's just take a pause there. We're fourth. We finished fifth last season. We're in Europe. We're a big club, aren't we, Steve?
I think Leicester always will be a big club. And, I think, you look at the training facilities, you look at the stadium now, they're going to try and get it with, a bigger capacity. Leicester's up there. And I think that, out of the whole of the top half of the league, you can see Leicester with the best footing. Because, you've got your big boys, you've got your Man City, you've got your Man United, but how much do they owe? How much are they in debt? The only way that they can do is spend more money every year to keep, in the positions they are. But Leicester pick the right players, they keep plodding on, and they're getting stronger and stronger, and they will get stronger and stronger.
Well, it's an interesting draw. Like you said, we've got to play these teams at some point, and it isn't an unwinnable game. Talking of unwinnable games, and thanks for picking the team there, Craig. I think you might have 11 out of 11 there this week. I might have to give you that. Let's have a look. Steve, we didn't get a chance to get yours first. Walshy and myself have both gone for 1-1 this weekend. Ian Big Marshy, he thinks that Liverpool are going to sneak it. I can understand where he's coming from. 2-1. Steve, first of all, what do you think?
I'm going to
go. Please say we're going to lose.
No, I was going to go 2-0 Leicester.
Oh no!
I'm hoping that the real Leicester turn up, and if they do, I can see him scoring a couple of goals.
Steve, you know that you've got to go for Liverpool, otherwise we won't win. You've let me down now. You've let me down.
No, we will win. I'm confident on this one. If you pick the team, it's how you get the team to play. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing now. No matter what team you would have picked, It's how you get the team that you've picked to play, and I think that's the most important thing.
Craig, 3-2 or 3-1 for you?
No, I'm going to go for a 2-2. I think our biggest danger, and it sounds weird, our biggest danger in this game is Brendan, because it's how he sets his team up and how he sends them out to play. As you said, Steve, you know, if he sends them out to play on the front foot to dictate the pace from the kickoff, then we've got a really great chance of beating them. But I'm just worried that Brendan will slip into this sort of defensive mode, and we'll sit back. And you know, we will get opportunities on the break because we've got players who can play on the break. But I'm not convinced that we'll be able to keep them out if we sit back and invite them on.
Well, let's very quickly go. Very nice here. Well done to TM. Thanks, TM. Spurs are out. I want Leicester to go all the way. It's a 21 as a 1 in the year. It should have been Spurs' year, shouldn't it? Bit more dust in the trophy cabinet for Spurs. Classic match, Craig. Have you got a classic match for us this week? Quickly get
I have I've got a classic one, and again, it's a nod to Steve. So I'm sure he'll remember this game fondly. So we're going back to 1984. This is Steve, and it was the 18th of April, and it was Leicester Liverpool, and it ended up 3-3. And a certain Mr. Lynex got a goal during that game. If the stats are correct, and I'm sure they are, Steve. What do you remember about that one?
That was the best goal I've ever scored. It was a cracker, that was.
Was it?
Yeah, top corner, Bruce Grobler, no chance.
Yeah, it was. They were being. I think they went on and won the title that year, but I think they were top, and we were around 10th, I think. And looking at this, I think they took an early lead with John Walk, and then we got back into Andy Peake, who had a bit of a habit of scoring against Liverpool, and then you got one just before half time to put us 2-1 up going into the break, I think.
Yeah, volley. Yeah. Great game.
Yeah.
Is it?
Was it dry? I used to have it on tape. But my late dad, bless him, you got the old cassettes. You could put a bit of sellotape on and tape over them, and he taped over. There's some bird watching in the back garden, but I've never been able to get it from anywhere else because I keep telling my lads, "Say, oh, you're shushing this one against Liverpool."
Yeah.
Is it not on YouTube, Steve?
No, we've looked everywhere for it. I think it was one of the tapes where the club itself taped the game. So if there's anybody listening that's down there, they've got it. Oh, please let me know.
We should contact the club. We should do that for you.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah,
because I think they what it says from what I've got here. I think Ian Rush equalised, and then Lineker put us back 3-2 up, only for it was John Walk. Sorry, Ronnie Whelan scored the first goal. John Walk got a late equaliser in the sort of 81st minute. But by all accounts, it was interesting that there's a Liverpool website that has a lot of these old games on, and they have all the old clippings as well. And one of the reports says what a fantastic game it was, and the fact that it was a game that could have been sort of 6-6 other than 3-3, and both teams thoroughly contributed to a fantastic game.
Yeah, for some reason in the 80s, we seemed to be a bogey team for Liverpool. They could never beat us, and it was strange, but it was good, to be honest. Really good.
Yeah.
Just hope it carries on now.
It's spun round a bit, unfortunately, hasn't it?
Yeah, but like you say, if you have the same aggression, the same attacking mode, you know, the sky's the limit. Like Craig's touched on it. It's all down to Brendan.
Yeah,
it's all down to Brendan.
In those days, though, Steve, I seem to remember, if the Liverpool team, if you went out and beat Liverpool, whether it be Shankly, Paisley, whoever, would come out and go, do you know what? They deserved it, you know. None of this, well, it was the colour of our shirts. We couldn't see it against the and all this rubbish, you know. Liverpool were always, in my eyes anyway, maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but, you know, they were always generous if they did get beaten.
Oh, yeah, you know, you can go to some places, like the old West Ham days when you used to go down to Upton Park. If you played West Ham off the park, you know, the West Ham fans would clap you off the pitch. And it was the same with Liverpool, you know, when we used to go there, they'd be clapping us off the pitch. And it was great, you know.
Yeah. Now, it's at this point that I am going to ask anybody that's watching us still to help me here and get Google up on another tab, because Craig has probably got his version of mastermind question to ask me. It never gives me a chance with.
You know what, Chris? Because you keep saying that these questions are too hard. I've got an easy, a medium, and a hard question for you. Now you can choose whichever you want, and then I'll give you that question. Let's see how you get on. What are you going to go for?
Well, you see, if I go for easy and get it wrong, then I'm going to sort of look at it at that. So you kind of know that I'm not going to go for easy now, because I can't, because I would be totally embarrassed. Let's go down the middle. Let's go medium, because I know you're not going to allow Steve to help me, because obviously he was in the match.
Definitely not. And to be honest, I think this might be fairly easy for you, for a man of all your knowledge. For that game,
hey Craig, let me just say, this is why I have you guys on, because I don't have the knowledge.
So for that game, that fantastic 3-3, 1984, can you tell me who the two managers were?
Well, I'm guessing Wallace for Leicester. Yes.
Do you want to tell him, Steve? Because
no, Steve's nodding his head. No. Who replaced Wallace then? Gordon Milne.
Yeah, we'll give you one for that. Who was the Liverpool manager?
I want to say Paisley, or was it after? I'm going to go Paisley. Bob Paisley.
Yeah, do you want to try again?
Joe Fagan.
Joe Fagan. It was Joe Fagan. Gordon Milne and Joe.
I got it at the second choice. Steve,
you did. You improved it.
You're going to have to start sort of writing them down on a card and sort of sticking them up like that. I'll take you out so Craig can't see you, and then I'll slip you a £5 in the post. You know. Facebook user, I'm sorry, you're worse than me with Evans. No, it wasn't. It got. I'm actually looking forward to next season when I don't have to go through. I don't know why I put myself through this every day, every week. But
just a quick one. Just a quick one, Chris and Steve. Looking at the lineup there, and I noticed it's almost it's this month 11 years since the late Bobby Smith sadly passed away, who was playing in that game. Have you got any stories about Bobby? I remember he was a bit of a Marmite character with the Leicester fans at the time. He could have great games, and then he'd have some stinkers as well, but I just remember him for that perm. What was he like?
Bobby was fantastic. I think you had a core of the Scottish lads there. You know, you had Alan Young there. You had Jim Mulrose. You had Kevin McDonald. You know, Bobby Smith, Ian Wilson. But the nice thing about Bobby, he was like, you got Alan, who was the enforcer and the father figure. But then you had Bobby underneath it, who was like, he'd get you up if you were down. You know, he was a funny guy. He was a character. No, loyal boys till the end.
His son is actually in in the group, the Facebook group, Leicester Till I Die. And I often, not often, but I've had a chat with him in the past, and he's a big Hibs fan, but obviously he does for obvious reasons. But he does follow Leicester, bless him. But Steve, it's been great. Thank you very much. Twice in a week.
Yes, lovely. Thank you. I'm getting to enjoy it now.
Good. I say twice in a week. My wife would be impressed. And, twice in a month, she used to be impressed with. I tell you. Says it Christmas. Anyway, but thanks very much. We've got we do a European one, just a general European show next week, and then we've got who have we got next week, Craig? Come on, I'm testing you now.
These are the stuff that you tell us. Yeah.
I was getting my own back. It's Aston Villa, and it is on the Sunday. So we'll be back next Wednesday with the preview show, if you're available, Steve.
Yes, I'll be there.
Brilliant. And it's great to have you on. Thanks for joining us. And Craig as well. Thank you very much, sir. Even though you are... and we've just been joined, as luck would have it, and I say luck very loosely, Rich Sports. Good evening, Rich. He's in a group we have on Twitter, and he runs the Man United version of Leicester Till I Die, if you like, Rich Sports. And Rich, we are looking forward to it because I think we've decided we're going to kick your ass, mate. It's going to be revenge for last year. Guys, thanks very much, like I say, and we'll fingers crossed for the Liverpool game, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Yeah.
2-0. No
Cheers,
problem.
Chris. Steve.
2-0, great. That worries me when you say that, Steve. I'm sorry, but it really does worry me. Take care, guys, and stay safe.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye, all.
Bye.
Yeah, it does worry me. I'm sorry, Steve, but we seem to win when he predicts us to lose. So, but it's Liverpool. Look, we've got to win one. And like we say, is this the time when we can do it? You know, they are on a poor run of form. I have a feeling we might just do it. Saturday, 12:30. At the KP, like we say, it's on BT. If you've got that platform, TalkSport, Radio Leicester, and lcfc.com free of charge. I am going to be back tomorrow night at 7:00, and I'm going to have Andrew Fairbass and Keith with me from the Liverpool podcast, Pass and Move. We had them on last time. They are great lads. Probably the most fun I ever had actually doing an opposition podcast. They are totally mad, and it's a great laugh. So join us tomorrow at 7:00 if you can, and I can say for the Opposition View show. Enjoy the rest of the night, guys. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for all your comments, and I'll see you then. Take care and stay safe.
Leicester Till I Die podcasts on the Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Anchor, and all podcast platforms.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.